Football, Fantasy Football League, Fantasy Football Podcast. This week brought to you by Sleeper, the fantasy football app made for fans by fans. This is the show where we take a look into the details of goings on in the league because we all know our commissioner won't. I'm here with my co-host as usual, Mr. RJ Wagner. How are you doing?
Ted, I'm doing fantastic, man. We are, well, at the point of this filming, 2 days away from Thursday night football. Don't know when this will come out. You might get busy again with other projects. Um, but I'm excited, man. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. The draft is over. Teams are set. We are ready to get started for the season. I'm excited.
I know, and it just sort of doesn't feel real. Like I actually don't feel like there's going to be a game this Thursday
Mhm.
coming on that. I'd say this draft weekend is the most surreal it's felt,
I
where
agree.
it was all sort of a haze, as
Vegas.
in we were just sort of there. Vegas was a haze.
I completely
It's all
agree.
sort of there. Yeah, just the lack of planning, the lack of fanfare, not to put any, undue blame on the host, but really it just didn't feel like a prepared draft weekend. So I'm
Yeah,
sort of feeling a little discombobulated, but we're coming into week
I,
one.
I
It's
agree.
starting.
It's gone fast. Like even at we planned on filming this over the weekend. I felt like I snapped my fingers and it was time to film it. I'm like I'm not prepared, you know? But
Hmm.
thankfully I did get a welcome letter from the ASIC sports book that
Ooh.
that we will be reading later on. Just, a good kickoff started, a welcome letter for the league. So I'm excited for that. But yeah.
So, with that, why don't we dip right into the draft recap? It was a great draft, I think, a good time. I was hoping there would be some more, in-person draft recap, but there was one person who really nipped it in the bud, said, let's get it going. You're wearing that. So, we're going to take a deep look into it now. And the way we've got it set up, I'll take care of Division One and you take care of Division Two. But I think we should both start with going into our teams and then sort of ping pong back and forth. So just talking about my own team. During the draft, I was real happy with it. I'm giving my team nickname Team Didn't Learn His Lesson. Because
Mm,
last year I saw my team and it was a lot of older fellas. It was
mhm.
a lot of, Saquon, Derrick Henry. They were good previously, but they didn't produce. Now I'm looking at my team again. I've got Alvin Kamara, Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, all guys who were up that could really take a dip. So I'm saying team didn't learn my lesson because there's no way, I think there's no way they can all perform. I'm feeling down. But just to give me some people I like Tyreek and Michael Pittman. I think they're both going to have good years. They're both pretty steady. They're both the number one option. I can't see them doing too bad. My people, my game breakers, I'm saying Derrick Henry and Travis Kelce because they both have a lot of hype, and I just don't see how they can live up to it.
I get that, Ted. Ted, honestly, uh, with my team, I feel the exact same way with you. I think I'm team didn't learn my lesson part two. Um, Heavy running backs early, which has been my what I've gone to as of late, and it hasn't paid off. So why would I go back to it? I felt like Christian McCaffrey was a fairly consensus number one overall pick. But there's always that question mark with injury. I know he is back practicing starting today, but he did have that strained calf, which has been a kryptonite with running backs in the past. Um, and to be completely honest, I have 5 wide receivers on my team, and I think all five, or no, I have six. 5 out of the 6 are guys that I don't want on my team. Like I really didn't want Puka. I don't really want T. Higgins. That might help out. If you heard about the whole Jamar Chase holdout still not practicing, that could really put a dent into
Mm-hmm.
start of Kyle's season as number one or his first round pick, not starting the season. But I feel like they have to figure out a way to get him on the field. Um, but other like I did not want T. Higgins, didn't really want Puka because I liked Pooper Fuck. I've never liked having DJ Moore, Devonta Smith. I feel like a lot of, I mean, number twos and DJ Moore, who could be anywhere from a 1, 2, or 3 with Roma Dunze and Keenan Allen. Um, and yeah, I really didn't draft guys I liked. Last year I drafted guys I liked. This year I didn't learn my lesson, and I drafted guys I didn't want. Like I really didn't want them. But you live and you learn. So we'll make do with what we have. Christian McCaffrey leading the pack in the locker room. He'll definitely help out. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely looking at your team. No offense to you. I mean, you said it, but there's guys Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Puka, even ETN slightly. There are going to be some weeks where they have a 2, 3 down weeks in a row, and I feel like you're going to really struggle to put them back in. But you sort of have to, but I can see it being tough.
I agree, and uh, I think it was our host who said that this was the deepest running back class he's ever seen, and I could not disagree more. I think there are like I have a good amount of running backs that I got early, and I don't feel confident in them. Like I don't. I disagree. What do you think?
I'm just gonna start moving on because this is a perfect jumping point. I gave Jack's team, the host, the great host, I gave him the team nickname Pound the Rock because
Mm,
boy, does he have a lot of running backs.
let me look at
Just
him.
looking
Wow.
at
Well, his starting lineup is looking a little iffy as of
his
now.
starting lineup is not set, but I think he's got two really good running backs, and then he really filled in with as many running backs as I think he just sort of threw them at the wall. But he's got Jonathan Taylor and he's got Bijan, who I think, at least to me, I think they're going to be really carrying a heavy load. But he's got Raheem Mostert, Ezekiel Elliott, Ramondre Stevenson. Who else? It's just hard to look at because he didn't set up his roster very
Yeah,
helpful to us.
I uh
But I think
I
he really
will
bought
agree.
into a lot of running backs.
I think the best, I mean, I haven't even looked at everyone's lineup really, but that's one of the best 1-2 punches is Jonathan Taylor,
Mhm.
Bijan. And I do like Ramondre, especially where he was being drafted at. It will be interesting because the Patriots suck if they'll be down more. The fact that they got Antonio Gibson, if he will take a lot of the
Mhm.
workload from him since he's a more of a passing back. And I do love the flyer on Raheem Mostert, especially where he was getting drafted. Zeke, who knows what he'll do, but um, yeah, his
Yeah,
team
and
does
then
good.
I think the opposite side of the coin, the big weakness for Jack, he went real hard in on the good running backs. I think his wide receivers could be all over the place. Because if you look at his best wide receivers, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, they're all old. They all have sort of had nagging injuries the past couple of years. Their
Mhm.
quarterback situation is still, I feel like none of them have like a really good quarterback who's going to perform every single week.
Who was the first receiver he took? Was it Mike Evans or Debo or
I think it was Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp? I
Oh no, it
because
was Debo.
it was Debo.
It was Debo. Took him in
See,
like the first.
I was bigger on, so I got Chris Godwin. I was actually bigger on Godwin than Mike Evans this year because the fact that Mike or Chris Godwin is going back to the slot, which is
Hmm.
where he excelled a few years ago. And this past year he's playing back on the outside, but they're moving him back to the slot. So I think that'll be um a huge opening for Baker Mayfield in that offense. And yeah, like you said, Mike Evans is getting up there. But he has been getting 1,000 yards a year, so he'll be fine. But yeah, that wide receiver room is, I'd say it's deep, but uh doesn't have star power, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
This year. Give it a couple years
Hmm.
ago, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. DK, Debo. So now moving on in your division, you play him twice a year. Uh, why don't we go on to who will be playing Jack? We've got Chase. How do you feel about Chase's team? Someone I don't think you can
Wait,
really
Ace isn't playing
bet
Jack.
against. I get it wrong. The guy who's playing Kevin, Chase. Not a guy you can really bet against.
Why don't we just talk about Binks a lot?
Why don't we just talk about Binkslaw? We've got Binkslaw team, a guy you can't really not bet against. He's looking good. How do you feel
Um,
about his team?
how do I feel about his team? I'm really just going off the fly right now looking, and I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know. Brees Hall is going to be great. The second running back being James Conner,
Mhm.
and his third running back being Devin Singletary, I think is a super, super thin running back room. And what happens if Maserati Marv doesn't meet his, what was it, third round ADP or second round ADP? It was
Mhm.
second, wasn't it?
Did he
Was
get
it?
him in the second?
No, he had to get AJ Brown, I think. But I thought he got Laporta in the third. Or maybe he got Laporta in the fourth. I don't know. But he it's a great feeling having Laporta. He has him locked and loaded into his starting tight end position. He'll be there all year, I'm sure. I was high on
Mhm.
him. Um, and I forget who it was. We were talking briefly after the draft, but I actually really like AJ Brown. That's who I would have wanted over Devonta Smith for sure. But that's a great stack with Jalen Hurts. Um, and I love Rashee Rice in the flex. And I actually think I don't know. I just don't know about Marvin Harrison. No one knows about Marvin Harrison. What could happen? Only heard good things though. But the wide receiver room, I like with the AJ Brown, Deontay
Mhm.
Johnson on his bench, and Rashee Rice. I feel like that has great depth that he'd be able to plug and play multiple different guys there. Just the running back room is a little thin. Um, an injury could be detrimental to that running back room.
Yeah, I'd say looking at Bink's team, I think he's got the highest floor for sure. He's lacking
Mhm.
a little, at least looking at his team right now, he's lacking that super crazy star power he had last year with
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, Amon Ra. It seems like he's got 10 really good players.
He had Amon Ra last year too.
Yeah. It seems like he's got 10 really good players, but I don't know if he has those 3 to 4 that can really push you nuclear each week.
Nuclear. I agree. Who do we got now?
So now moving on to another Division One member, we're looking at the team I like to call Team Run It Back, Kyle's team.
Hmm.
He's going with a lot of the same players. He's got the big, powerful. I think these two are going to be really good for him that weren't on his team last year. That might, give him a little bit more over the edge. So he's got Pat Mahomes, just like Josh Allen last year, going to be giving him 30 points minimum. But a game changer, I think, for him, Jamar Chase, which, depending on the contract situation, could bite him in the butt. But I think those two are going to keep him at a pretty solid floor each week. But then he's got Jameer Gibbs and Chris Olave back and a lot of rookies, which is Kyle's specialty these days. But just looking at his team, I think some of that from last year could cost him, where he's got some really good players and then the rest of his team isn't quite there. Uh, but I think
Sorry,
this run it back strategy might be interesting.
got a text message from literally the team we're talking about right now.
Whoa, the stat man.
That man, I was trying to get my hands on his on his document, data doc, but we couldn't
Ooh.
get it in time. Um, hold on. We are talking about your team on the podcast right now. Oh, let's go. Um, I actually really like Jameer Gibbs. I think Jameer Gibbs has a chance of being the number two running back. I really do.
Wow.
He could take over a larger role than he did last year. Just, take away what David Montgomery did. This is just going off what I feel, not the sports book data, blah, blah, blah. That's not me. I don't go in with that. But I love Trey McBride too. He is the new Tyler Conklin.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But what did
but
Tyler Conklin do after his breakout year? Jack nothing.
I don't even.
Jack nothing.
But one of my favorite late round picks Kyle got was Keon Coleman. I've heard a lot of good things,
Uh-huh.
and that he could actually be he could end up being the guy in Buffalo. So why not take a flyer on a guy that has probably one of the best fantasy quarterbacks? Take a flyer on him in the league late round. And besides that, Nico Collins, love him, but adding Stephon Diggs, it's all a bunch of unknowns. But I also
Mm-hmm.
love James Cook. I'm a big fan of James Cook, kind of like I am with Keon Coleman. That Bills offense, you got to give the ball to someone. So,
Yeah, I think how Monty was the highest floor, lowest ceiling, at least to look like. I think Kyle's got the lowest floor and the highest ceiling.
yep, I could see that for sure, for sure.
All right, now moving on to Kyle's opponent. We've got a team that's very controversial, talked a lot of smack. No one was willing to put the money where the mouth is. We've got Trevor's team. Just looking at it, how do you feel as a member of his division?
Um, I think Trevor has a bad team, plain and simple. But I'd say it's somewhat similar to Kyle's in that it has a low floor. I just don't think it has as high of a ceiling as Kyle's team. Like, I think Justin Jefferson, who I have no idea what he could do
What to
with Sam
expect with
Darnold.
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. Garrett Wilson, I mean, if he is what they were saying last year he was supposed to be with Aaron Rodgers,
But
then he'll be
again,
great. But who knows because we never got to see it. And Devon Achane, I just thought he was getting drafted so high and he was so efficient that there's no way he can replicate it.
mhm,
But maybe I'm completely wrong and he can. Um, and Zamir White, I've just heard a lot of things with him not being able to receive out of the backfield and pass block, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Um, but other than that, the running back room is what scares me the most
oh yeah.
with his team because I don't see any depth at
I
all.
see a
And
lot of guys you pick up week 4
mhm.
hoping that they get like starter carries. They get hot that week.
I mean, and I think deep down, whether he says it or not, he's even panicking because he has already
Yep.
made a transaction and picked up Chuba
Yep.
Hubbard.
Hmm.
So I think he's already working. And one thing I will give Big Trev is he is a manager. He is a manager of the fantasy football league. He doesn't just have to sit back. I mean, like Chase has always had good teams, it seems like, and has been a very laid back, sit back type of manager. Kyle too has had like you look at the ad drops at the end of the year.
Hmm.
They've always had the lowest. I brought that up last year at some point. Trevor, when he feels a little heat, he works a little harder. So
He's tinkering.
I'll give him that. He's definitely a manager that I think could handle a bad drafted team. Um, so we'll see. But the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack, running it back with Mark Andrews. So we'll see it with that injury if that comes back.
Definitely a team to watch, whether you'll be laughing, whether you'll be crying, you'll be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
A
Could
controvert.
we maybe take a quick 30?
Oh, we got to take a quick timeout.
Yeah.
Quick 30 seconds or 30 minutes?
Just 30 seconds. I mean, we just have 4 minutes left on this Zoom call. I saw.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, the network is
Yeah,
telling me.
break, right?
We'll take a quick break here from our sponsor. We'll be right back after this.
Stability never felt better. From downtown to uptown, take the scenic route. From the everyday to the unexpected, you can run through it. Adapt to stability and premium comfort. The Gel Kayano 30 shoe. Nothing feels better.
And I want to say thank you to our sponsors. We're still in the middle of recapping the draft. We got 2 teams left. We're going to start with one that I hate to say. Looking at his team, he was ranked number 1. Go ahead.
Just really quick, after the man that texted me when we were talking about his team, owner Whitlock, he then said, "Hopefully you're not bringing up my first round draft pick decided not to practice yesterday, even though he's perfectly healthy." And we were literally just talking about that
Mm-hmm.
before the break. It's like he's listening in right now. He
It's like
knows.
he's got us bugged.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all I had to say.
Let's hope no one else is listening to us. But going back to the team, he was projected 14-0. I hate to say it, but his team isn't looking too shabby at the moment. But I'm calling Kevin's team good players on good teams. That's what I'm calling his team, because looking at his team, I think some big highlights for him, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra are going to be doing great for him. Those offenses score. The only 2 people I'm thinking could bring him down, Drake London, Pacheco. I'm thinking those 2, which is even to say, I think they have the most, could go high, could go low. I think they're probably both going to be low, but just looking at his team, he's got a lot of good players on good teams. Good players score, good teams score. RJ, do you have anything to say about his team?
That was one thing we said last year, Ted, was we have to draft good players on good teams. And
Mhm.
while we love shitting on him, oh, I think this is the best team in the league. And I'll say that with complete honesty. I think the only thing that could stop him would be an injury.
Mhm.
You said London and Pacheco. I love both those guys this year. Um, and I love Gus Edwards on the bench. I thought that was a great pick. Um, and even Jerome Ford and Zach Moss. Like I really, really like it. There's not much to say other than that. This is a team, scary team to look out for, and I
Mhm.
know the sports book is furious about that, and just about every single owner in the league, including me, because not a single person wants to see this man win.
And I guess just moving on, someone you can feel uh, sort of iffy about their team. They've also, I call this run it back number 2,
I,
Chase.
deja vu. I was thinking the exact same thing. The receivers,
Mhm.
right?
The receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams. He traded out Jamar Chase for Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll see how it goes. Chase had some pretty high point totals last year.
Big name superstars again with those 3, like you said. I love CJ Stroud. I really wanted Evan Ingram. But I think we really need to start talking about some tampering with his
Mhm.
occupation and the receiver he has on his bench in Brandon Ayuk, did he have him last year? He had a niner, I thought. No, he did have
Yeah.
him. He did add him. He had him as his number 4 receiver. I'm almost positive. So it's starting to get a little questionable
Mhm.
about, what's going on there behind the scenes. But another great team, maybe not up to a Chase draft standard, meaning I don't think he drafted the best team.
Mhm.
Usually after every draft, I think he drafted the best team. Now, to be completely honest, probably second or third, but I just don't think it was the number 1 team. And with his occupation, like we talked about earlier, will that hinder his ownership time in the league this year, not drafting so good? Is this a chance we see him fall into the come?
Ooh.
I don't know. Questions.
Questions to be asked, and there's only one way for them to be answered. We're rolling in to the week 1 preview.
Oh, here we go. The week 1 preview. The welcome letter sent out to me,
Whoa.
executive of A6 Sportsbook. He said he wanted me to open this, read it. It was an email. As we begin the preview of the week 1 of the 2024 ZFFFL Fantasy Football League, I want to remind you of the A6 Sportsbook. And then they wrote this: get ready to step up your game and take your fantasy football experience to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned vet or a rookie on the rise, A6 Sportsbook is here to bring the action, excitement, and competition to your fingertips. Track every touchdown, celebrate every big play on your team, and feel the rush to dominate your league. What?
Keep going, keep going.
No, what were you going to say?
Now that it just seems like it's an ad for something else, but keep going.
No. While you're putting your fantasy team to the test, make sure you're geared up for victory in real life with the new A6 Gel Velocity, designed for athletes who crave superior comfort and peak performance. Whether you're on the field or off, A6 Gel Velocity will help you go get the extra yard. May the best lineup win, and remember, at A6 Sportsbook, every game is a chance to rise to the top. Good luck and let the season begin. A6, a sound mind is a sound body. What were you going to say?
I was just saying,
celebrate every touchdown for your fantasy team.
It just seemed a little disingenuous that it wasn't just one piece of paper in an envelope. It just seemed like maybe you were getting ready to tell everyone there was a new app, like an A6 Sportsbook app available, or some sort of online betting or anything like that.
No, not at this time. We're still working things out with the executives over at A6 Sportsbook for an app, even a live app that updates odds throughout the game. You can yeah. I don't want to spoil too much.
Still working on that.
They also do want to apologize. They were a little behind. They wanted to put out they actually wanted to put out some boosts over the weekend with some games, but that wasn't prepared, kind of like how we have one team that is not prepared as of now in the league. But without further ado, the future lines. So first, I want to talk about the draft recap lines on NFL.com. I just want to run through those really quick because Teddy, you and Kyle were both projected 6 and 8, tied for 5th. Okay. Finished the league. Trevor, believe it or not, 7 and 7, finished 4th. That was incredibly shocking to me. Even me, 9 and 5, finishing 3rd. I was extremely shocked about that. And then Monty, 11 and 3, finishing 2nd. And like we talked about, Kevin, undefeated and 1st, which that only leaves 2 people that didn't send in their recaps. Chase and Jack, 7th and 8th. And with how high our win totals are, I got to only assume one of them was supposed to go completely defeated.
Yep.
But we were not given those their data, whether they're embarrassed, or as Chase said, or as Jack says, I have not used that email since 6th grade or whatever.
It's not an email. You can find it on the website.
You can find it on the website. So I don't know what his excuse is. But let's start with the future lines, over, under, and wins. Now, from the sports book, from what I'm getting looking at these lines, this is a way closer draft than last year. And I think we talked about it early last year. It's 7 wins and you're in, pretty much. 7 wins and you're in the playoffs. Is it 7? 6 is questionable. Usually you get in with 6.
I'd have to talk to the stats man, but that feels about right. 6 to 7 wins is all you need for a ticket.
Yeah. So pretty much the overall future over-under lines, we have RJ, Trevor, Chase, Kyle, and Teddy. 5 people, all their over-unders are 7.5.
Wow.
Minus 120 each. Over
That
under.
seems like a lot of money could be made off of those.
So it's very even. And then we look at Kevin and Monty. Their over-under line is set both at 8.5. People forget that last year, I think Monty finished with 8 wins, but he went on a 4-game losing streak to end the season, which was crazy because we had one person that I believe had the under and he needed that to hit, and it did cash. And he was that man was the sharp better in the sports book. He did bet every weekend on every single potential bet. So we have that. Kevin and Monty's over under is at 8.5. With more juice to the under. Kevin's is -1. Wait a second. Yeah, Kevin's is -130 to the under. Monty's at -140. And Kevin's over is at -110. Monty's over is at +100 over 8.5. So it's a little bit juiced. But still, Kevin is the sports book has Kevin winning the most games this year.
Wow.
I will say that. And then Jack's over under is the only one that is at a strict 7, not 6.5. So it will push at 7. The over line is -130. Under, getting a phone call. Sportsbook? Random number. The over is at -130. Under is at -110 for Jack at 7. Now the winners. We are talking last. The longest odd. Don't stop calling me. Should I answer?
Must be the sports book.
Hello?
This is the first on the pod.
Who is this? No idea. Wasn't English. So the longest odds person to win is, or should I save that? No, it's obvious at this point. It's Jack. Jack has the longest odds to win at +600 for Mr. Pilcher to win.
Woo.
Can only assume that he is, the lowest total. The NFL.com projected him 7th or 8th. He is down there. And then Teddy, Chase, Kyle. I don't know why these are. This is sportsbook's odds. I don't know.
Sportsbook's money to be made.
They might adjust, but Teddy, Chase, and Kyle are at +580. Still a lot of value there. Trevor is at +550 to win the league.
Ooh.
I'm also at +550. Monty is at +510, and the favorite to win is Kevin O'Brien at +500. And now for everyone's favorite, the cum odds.
Oh.
Longest odds to wear the cum, sadly, is a man that has never worn the cum, which is Kevin O'Brien at +500. Next is Big Shay at +480. Then it is me at +450. Kyle at +420. Chase at +420. Teddy at +420. And then Jack at +400. And I just realized who they did not put on here to get the cum is Trevor. So let me send a quick email to the execs and maybe I'll get a line for him real quick before the end of the pod.
They're pretty responsive.
It's sent. So maybe I'll figure that. Maybe I'll get an email back later on. But the week 1 lines is everyone's favorite. Maybe not. I don't know. The only person that bets is Trevor. So Trevor, your line with Kyle's game is a pick 'em. All right. Great first pod. There you go. No, I'll go ahead. Trevor and Kyle. Yep. They're game 1. We already went through their teams pretty much. So we don't need to preview that much more. But Trevor and Kyle is a pick 'em game at -120. Along with that, Teddy, Our game
Mhm.
is a pick 'em at -120 each. The Jack versus Bink game. This is sad, but as of now, there are no available betting lines because one commissioner has not set his lineup. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't do it until he doesn't realize that until Thursday, and he has Thursday night games.
Jack does not even know that there were games this week.
Yeah. So there is a very good chance that he doesn't even set his lineup. And then what I think is kind of crazy, the Chase versus Kevin game. Chase historically has been crushing week ones, left and
Mhm.
right. And I don't think I've ever seen this ever in my life. Kevin is currently a -1.5 point favorite to Chase's +1.5, -120 each side. For that line, there are no money lines for that. You would have to take the spread at -1.5. So it's a close game. Kevin's great draft has put him as a favorite, and Chase is a week one underdog. Incredible line. Incredible. Shocking.
That is shocking. And Chase is even projected one more point than Kevin, which isn't to say that those projections mean much, but he's not projected too much less.
Yeah, and but he also doesn't have a defense in his lineup right now. So he
Oh, I did not even know.
doesn't have a
And
defense on his team. So
no D, not even a D on his B.
not a D on his B. Which he did
That's
that last year.
insane.
He didn't draft a defense last year, and I don't really get why not, because you end up you need one in week one.
Even if you stream it, you might as well get someone, ahead of someone.
So yeah, those are the sports books lines. They'll be messaged out to the group later today. But yeah, Ted, it's a pleasure to be back with you and do this
It's a
week.
pleasure to be back.
I'm excited to get this football season rolling, and let's have a good year.
Yep. And how are you feeling about week one? A lot of
Week one,
potential. Things could go good. Things could go bad.
nervous more than anything. Cause week one's the staple for everything. You'll see who has Bijan, Jack
Jack has Bijan.
might be on his bench. You might see that Bijan, it's the same workload, and he'll have the first 8 carries of the game, but finish with 12, and Algier will finish with 16. You don't know, but this week one will tell you. So I'm excited for it. Extremely nervous more than anything. But it's great to be back on the saddle. It's like riding the bike. I'm excited to get back in this fantasy league, and get it going. How do you feel, Ted?
I'm feeling nervous too, and I think it's mainly because last year was a pretty down year for both of us, which is why the nerves are coming out.
Yeah,
Sucking for 14 weeks, it's not fun.
it isn't. It is not. But one thing that I think we can all learn from this draft weekend, there are new strategies that us older champions haven't learned yet. We haven't learned. Big Shay was projected to win last year. Won. He's projected at the top 2. He knows something that I feel like a lot of us don't. Us old champions. Trevor hasn't won in forever. Me, Kyle, you after your 3-peat was last year. Were you going for a 4-peat last year?
I was going for a 4-peat last year. Yep.
Oh wow. So Monty's just this new age guy he's the one with the offense with all this motion going on, and we're just still in the single backfield, hud hike. We got to learn something from him.
There's a lot to be learned. I think there's something with the analytics going on that we're still punting on 4th down and Monty's going for it.
Exactly.
I think it's something like that, where they've been losing so much, they've had to experiment with so much, where we're stuck saying, oh, in 2017, when you won, RJ, you drafted a quarterback in the 9th round.
Yeah. We gotta strip our thoughts and do something else.
Just get bare, maybe go to a dark room, do some ayahuasca, something like that.
That might be what we need. I got a good
we'll
idea.
See.
I got a good idea for next draft party.
Yeah. That'd be great. And with that, I don't think there's anything too left. Oh, I do have to ask, can you check your inbox if the come odds for Trevor came in from the ASIC Sportsbook?
Oh, yes, they have.
Whoa!
And the come odds for Trevor are at plus 420, along with Kyle, Chase, you, even right at plus 420. So thank you for letting me know. Yes, they did. He did get back to me. Really, it's a great customer support though there over at ASIC Sportsbook. So
that is good. I heard they're doing a lot.
they are doing so much. It is tough to keep track.
Well, I guess with that, we have nothing left. The only thing left is it's week 1. Make sure to get your bets in before the Thursday night game. Week 1, I'm comfortable telling this to everyone because I know Jack isn't going to see it, but Chiefs Ravens Thursday night, it's going to be a good one. Don't forget Eagles Packers Friday night, and then Sunday things are a go. I know I'm excited just for some football every weekend. But as always, thanks for listening to the Science of Football Fantasy Football League Fantasy Football Podcast. Again, make sure to get those bets in for the Thursday night game. Make sure to follow us on social at ZFFFFPOD on all major platforms. And thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and as always, fuck you, Trevor.